wizarding world of Harry Potter and Dumbledore and his secrets, because Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore came out this past weekend. Whew. Whew.
It's back. Fantastic
Yeah.
Beasts after almost 3.5 years. Crimes of Grindelwald was November 2018. Fantastic Beasts 3 took a little longer to come out. COVID delays, of course, but they also took more time, the creative side of things, before they just ran this movie out to production. It's finally here, Secrets of Dumbledore. And in a sense, I really do feel bad for so much around this movie, just because there's just so many things going on around this franchise.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, J.K. Rowling has become a much more controversial figure for her views on trans people, yes, in the past few years. Also, Ezra Miller very recently has been having tons of public incidents, and reportedly Warner Brothers is pausing all future work with him after The Flash comes out. And of course, Johnny Depp was recast as Grindelwald with Mads Mikkelsen due to his domestic situation with Amber Heard, which is on trial right now still, after the defamation lawsuit happened. So uh, a lot of stuff, that's not what you want around a huge IP franchise that's supposed to be carrying a film studio like Warner Brothers. And it's not what you want.
Yeah, to speak to your Ezra Miller point, we're recording on April 19th, and just before recording, reports came out that he was arrested again in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I think it's the second or third time in like
Yeah.
2 months. So, I hope whatever he's going through, he gets help for. Obviously, it seems like he's just not in a good place at the moment. But yeah, really tough. The J.K. Rowling aspect of it all, just like very, very hard to
Right.
see her downfall go from this
It-
beloved author to
Right.
this.
And think about it. Like, JK isn't promoting this film. She
Yeah.
has not promoted this movie once. You can literally look up the last time she's tweeted the word beasts. Like, she's not involved at all. Like, she doesn't do the interview. She left the premiere without watching it. Like, she's there as like this like thing that's hanging over the franchise at this point. But even Warner Brothers like barely wants to touch her at this point, even though she's the creative arbiter still. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and just even to think about the other like non-controversial aspects of this, but
Hmm.
um the movies haven't been great.
No.
Yeah, I think Johnny Depp, obviously being a cloud over it, but like I think Johnny Depp was one of the more like memorable like castings as Grindelwald, and definitely to mixed I think results or
Yeah. I have a firm negative view of that performance. I thought
Yeah.
Mads was much better.
Matt, I mean, I completely agree. You think about like Eddie Redmayne when he came into this series back in 2016, and you're like, oh, Eddie Redmayne is helming the Harry Potter franchise. What a look for him! This is right after he won an Oscar for The Danish Girl. He was
Right. Yeah.
he was in a skyrocket, place upward. And since then, I mean, other than the trial of the Chicago 7, what has he really been in where you're like, oh, Eddie Redmayne still got it? He's not moving in the right direction. Jude Law might be the biggest person in this franchise, other than Mads now, who is moving on an upward trajectory. So, not a lot going for it going into this movie. Did you feel like Secrets of Dumbledore righted the franchise?
Let me just say too, Redmayne actually won for Theory of Everything and was nominated for The Danish Girl, but your
Thank
point
you.
still stands. I think The Secrets of Dumbledore, Fantastic Beasts 3, I think this is a improvement on 2, The Crimes of Grindelwald, but overall, I think this franchise as a spin-off franchise of Harry Potter, as a prequel franchise, 3 films in, Rowling had expressed that she wanted to make 5. I just think that we're really seeing the struggle of what Fantastic Beasts is, and like as a franchise, it just doesn't have the forward momentum, and a lot of the issues that I think people have had with the movies, no matter how much they've liked them, just like the issues people have had with this series, none of that is solved after Secrets of Dumbledore, even if it's a better film than its predecessor. So I thought it was just fine, but like I think the franchise is just really in need of a retool, I think.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I mean that they framed this as like the Fantastic Beast story when it's so far from that. I mean, there's still like fantastic beasts included in this, magical creatures, but
Right.
they're really just like a secondary part of this, and it's the Dumbledore Grindelwald story, which is what it should have always been named. Obviously they're going off, I think, one of the books that
Yes.
Rowling has published, but it
Yeah.
almost
Fantastic
might
Beasts and Where to Find Them was like a in universe text
yes.
that like Harry had, and then Rowling actually made like a real life, fake reference book for me and you to
Yeah.
buy at the bookstore. And thus that spawned a 5-film franchise, a book
Yeah.
about a magic zoologist. I think that was the core problem,
Right.
and I mean, even by the time Crimes of Grindelwald happened, it's like, wow, Newt and his gang, this is a major crutch on this series. It's really just bringing it all down. And in Secrets of Dumbledore, Newt is barely the protagonist at this point, and clearly doesn't need to be protagonist anymore if you were to make
Yeah.
more movies, because the important stuff he's only related to because you decide to write him back into the story. Like,
Yep.
it's just not. It's just very confusing.
Yeah. This is just the Dumbledore story at this point, which is fine if they wanted to just go that route, because it's definitely the thing that I was most interested in from the get go with this franchise. Anyways, to like as we go into it, I think there's a lot to nitpick with, but we should start in a positive place. I think,
Hmm.
like you said that there were definitely some parts about this that were better than other installments. I agree. I think that there's some aspects of this that I found to be more enjoyable, more fun. Just even some like set pieces that I thought were a lot
Hmm.
more intriguing than and memorable. But I'll let you kind of take the floor. Like, what were the things that you thought it did better than previous movies?
Well, yeah, the obvious one is Grindelwald. Uh,
Yes.
Mads Mikkelsen coming in to replace Johnny Depp. He was cast with like 2 days to decide, right in the midst of production starting. Like, Warner Brothers really had to fix this on the fly. Mads talked a bit about that process, but Mads Mikkelsen, he's, if you think about it, he's now been in damn near every Hollywood franchise: Star Wars, Bond, Marvel, Harry Potter. Yet he still makes his independent movies as well. Awesome actor.
Yeah.
He brings to Grindelwald what he brings to basically all of his franchise roles, where it's stated understatement, a bit of minimalism in his performance. Mads Mikkelsen has such presence without being this like showy, theatrical buffoon that late period Johnny Depp is. I thought Mads was really awesome in this movie. I really liked how the movie starts off, establishing this kind of like alternate dimension that like Dumbledore can establish, and them having that conversation over tea in the fake restaurant. I thought that was
Yep.
awesome. And Mads throughout, I think, really carries it, and he carries all his scenes because he just has such a presence, such a gravity that to bring to the performance and bring to the role.
Yeah, he really brings like a menacing presence in such a unique way that only really he can, and it just makes so much sense. You think about like villains and like how in kids things, they're so over the top, kind of like Johnny Depp. But when you get to like a more mature story, villains are or people who might be seen as a villain are usually more like understated and cunning and
Mm.
not as like lambastic and drawing attention to themselves. So he's a perfect cast for this, I think, and I agree. I think he's very strong in his scenes. I think Jude Law is pretty good. I think that I don't think it's a perfect performance from him. I think Dumbledore as a character is such a complicated character at this point with all the lore
Yeah.
that has been ascribed to him from Rowling, that it's like, how do you really play such a layered and complicated person? But I think Law does it pretty well.
Right. Yeah, he's at least doing his best. We don't have any exposure to young Dumbledore. We only kind of know him as he was introduced to us originally as kind of the, you know, archetypal fatherly wizard figure, right? And then we learn about so much depth and flaws to the Dumbledore character later on in the series. And I think we only like in spurts actually get that in the Fantastic Beasts 2 and 3, which is a bit of an issue. Like, this movie is called The Secrets of Dumbledore, but we don't really get into the secrets not in a meaningful way. Like, yes, a few things are answered and like the box is checked, but if anything, I feel like a lot of the canonical resolution of Secrets of Dumbledore is more or less just closing loops that Crimes of Grindelwald had like blatantly opened more than anything else. And that's not Law's fault, but
Yeah.
I think the greater issue with this series is that J.K. Rowling has been at the helm of the screenplays. This time around for Fantastic Beasts 3, you also have Steve Kloves, who is a Harry Potter scribe as well, writing for every Harry Potter film except for Order of the Phoenix. And yet, J.K. Rowling doesn't seem to really have all her wires crossed, even though this is her baby. She's very much in like prequel George Lucas land, I feel like. And Mads and Law, they can, do their best. And I even think Eddie Redmayne plays the new character well. I feel like new can be a bit annoying at times, but I think Eddie does a good job because that's what he's supposed to be portraying him as.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he does a pretty good job as well with new. I just want to go back to Dumbledore real quick. I think the title is more of a nod to the collective Dumbledores in this, Aberforth and Aurelius, which
Yes.
is I gotta say the whole like credence thing has just been fumbled right from the get go. Like
Sucks. It sucks so much.
terrible, and like to like all of a sudden make this the twist is just like
Yeah.
so
And now
ironic.
Credence is he's gone. It didn't
Yeah,
amount to fucking anything.
yeah, I know. Kind of crazy that also like he's killed off in this, like right as Ezra Miller is like
Yeah.
being like, I mean, they didn't have to like write him out anyway in between movies. They're just like, okay, you're done. Cool. Worked out great for them.
Right.
Um,
Like just like, and we can get into the more canon stuff later, but like just the way that they, introduced Credence Barebone in the first movie, Ezra Miller, a hot piece of casting at the time, like introducing this new phenomenon in the Harry Potter world, the Obscurus, the Obscurial. Later on, we're retconning that phenomenon to be a big part of the Ariana Dumbledore character and trying to fill in a gap from the existing Potter canon. Not necessarily a gap that need to be filled, but at least providing an answer for the fans. But the issue is that like Credence himself, Aurelius himself, like it never amounted to anything. And we saw right through it at the end of Crimes of Grindelwald, where Grindelwald says, "You're Dumbledore, your name's Aurelius," however he says it, right? It's like we all knew that was fucking bullshit all over again,
yep.
you know? And they, what? They're like, oh, you're not a sibling. You're Albus Dumbledore's nephew. You're Aberforth's son. It's like you're just making a convenient answer to a stupid question we didn't need to have asked in the first place. I think it's just really frustrating. Again, the Rowling doesn't have her finger on the pulse as well as she clearly thinks she does.
Yeah, and I mean, it's there's a lot to be frustrated with. I just want to say with some of the positives, I do think there's some cool like set pieces in this. The scene where they kind of go like undercover to that dinner, that like political dinner that Grindelwald's at, and Jessica Jones as what was
One
her
of the
character's
professors.
name? Yeah, man, what was that professor? Oh, it was Professor Lolly,
Something.
Lolly Hicks.
Hicks.
Yeah, Professor Hicks, her and Jacob Kowalski. We kind of going. I loved that scene. I thought that was fun, and like a real like kind of escape scene. I thought was nice. I also thought the ending was pretty cool, where they have this like animal that's gonna like pick the true one. I thought that was a little bit corny, but I kind of liked the like walking to this place and like as they're walking, they each have these briefcases and like they're kind of getting taken out one by one. I really liked that build up and then leading to like a final duel between Dumbledore and Grindelwald. I thought was a decent payoff.
Yeah.
So I really liked those set scenes and the CGI I think was decent. So I thought that was like a something that maybe in past movies wasn't always done well and that they did at least passable here. So
yeah,
I'll give them credit for that.
How'd you feel about the brief interludes where we return to Hogwarts? To me, it's just like it's kind of like blatant, like nostalgia play. It's like here we are in the room of requirements because you watching this know what that means. It's like we didn't have to go there at all. I would love to be in Hogwarts in the HBO Max series in development, because then we go there in a meaningful way. But this
Yeah.
is just like blatant, like brief fan service for no reason.
My favorite one of those was when Dumbledore and Aberforth are having dinner and they get a knock at the door, and
Yep.
it's this person delivering news, and right before it's like, "Thank you, Minerva," and it's like, "Oh, it's McGonagall! Oh, young McGonagall," who gets one scene and then is gone. It's like, okay,
Right.
cool,
Just like
all
in
right.
second movie. Yeah.
So stupid. I hate when they do that. Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of like, okay, what are we doing here? Just kind of tying this in. Um, but yeah, I think that there's a lot to pick through here. And the first one I want to say is like, there's just too many people in this. There's too many people we have to care
Mm.
about and know who they are. I couldn't. For like half the movie, I like kept forgetting who Colum Turner's supposed to be, and I think he was
Theseus.
even, yeah, I think he was even in the last movie, and I just was
He
like,
was.
who,
Yeah. He was the
who,
one who
what?
was married to or engaged to Letta Strange, Zoe Kravitz character. Yeah, I think like I said, like Newt's whole gang is a huge crutch on the series, and we really saw that manifest in two, of course. And they make a very specific choice in Secrets of Dumbledore, where Catherine Waterston's character, uh, Tina, is not in the movie. Basically, it's like, okay, you're trimming down the cast. Oh wait, no, you're not. We're just gonna get way more Theseus and tons of Kama too, who was introduced in a super confusing way in the last movie, and we have no relationship to still. Like, yeah, I think that's the issue. It's like you don't really like love the ensemble. It's not that the performance, there's issues with the performances. It's just like those characters you're just not super engaged with. It's a bit frustrating. Honestly, I feel like Kowalski is the one I like the most, just
Oh
because Dan
yeah.
Fogler's perfectly playing the comic relief and like the punchline stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, but it's funny like that. The punchline is basically like, "You're a dumb muggle." That's kind of it. But you got a heart, and that's what makes you special. It's like, okay, cool, I guess. Like,
Yeah,
uh, you know, I I definitely just feel like there's way too many people you have to keep track of. I didn't like the choice to like make Queenie on Grindelwald's side. I was just kind of like, I didn't really care that much to begin with. I was like, this just feels kind of annoying to have this like back and forth now. Also, them like getting married at the end, I thought was a little bit like hokey and just didn't care about. But
right.
whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting too. It's like she's a Legilimens, but then Grindelwald actually has this like clairvoyant ability. It's like it was just kind of weird to like keep all that straight for me, just because I feel like there's unnecessary like clutter almost. However, I did like how I think Secrets of Dumbledore kind of pulls off the whole we can't tell anyone the entire plan because Grindelwald will figure it out over time by these visions. So it's all going to be nebulous to you and thus nebulous to the audience as well. I actually think they handled that like as well as they could. And it's pretty fun watching things actually pan out and you figure out how everything's working and happening. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and
Um,
and to that point, I think that actually builds out a bit of the Dumbledore like plot holes in the Harry Potter books. How he like would never tell anybody the full story, and like how
right.
he kind of came to create this pattern of only giving little bits
Yeah.
to people on his team. Go on.
Yeah, no, totally. Um, and I think for me, visually, I wish this movie, I wish it just popped more. It's like I feel like it's a bit grayer and darker than I want it to be. It's not that it's
Mhm.
bad CGI per se. It's just like bad color grading or like
Hmm.
like the tones. I just don't love it. I wish like even like when we have like the fake dimensional duel at the end between Grindelwald and Dumbledore, it's like super washed out and gray. It's like not as eye popping as I want it to be. I don't know. So yeah, I think visually these movies can certainly improve. I think the effects for the beasts are always really good. I think
Yeah.
the Chillum as a new introduction was nice, but
Yeah, really tough for the baby Chillum to get its throat cut in the first like, I don't know, 10 minutes. Really
yeah,
tough. I don't know.
yeah,
Any other thoughts on this? I feel pretty mad about this franchise at this point.
yeah. Well, I think that there's a lot of other canon implications due to this movie and how it reacts to two, namely the secrets of Dumbledore, the secrets, learning about the secrets. Uh, we get a bit of a retcon with the duel between Grindelwald, Aberforth, and Albus that leads to Ariana's death, and they kind of restate how Ariana died and like kind of removing some culpability from Dumbledore this time around. It's I guess you could say like because there's just the way Dumbledore is just like telling it to someone. I forget who he's talking to in the movie. That's just kind of like secondhand. He's just kind of speaking, but like I feel like that kind of changes uh that dynamic because Aberforth had a lot of resentment towards Albus at the end of Harry Potter, and he doesn't seem to hold nearly that much resentment in Fantastic Beasts 3. So why would he dislike him more when the death already happened? I don't know. I thought that was a bit off. Also, the thing with the Chillum, I thought was interesting. I didn't really notice this myself. I saw this pointed out. The Chillum initially nods or bows to Dumbledore because he's pure of heart and thus should be leading the Confederation of Wizards, right? But I think one thing we know about Albus Dumbledore through Harry Potter is that he's super flawed and not totally pure of heart. He's a selfish person, and I don't know. Like, don't you feel like that kind of changes the perception of Dumbledore a little bit? This magical beast
Yeah,
communicating that he actually is like super good. Not that he's not good, but like there was a bit more gray in Dumbledore understanding of the character, at least before, in my opinion.
yeah, no, I think there definitely was. I think this is a symptom of just the fact that they haven't gone into this with any clear vision. And so now it's like,
Yeah.
how do we save this series? You got to pretty much like double down on people loving Jude Law's Dumbledore. And so
Yep.
they kind of have to do this. But it is confusing. And I thought that was a good point about the Everforth and Albus dynamic because yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I noticed that in the movie when he's like, we couldn't tell whose spell it was that hit her. It could have been mine. And it was like, well, I thought it was pretty clear that like it was your fault.
Yeah.
Stealing from the Harry Potter book. So I don't know. Like, you can pass the buck if you want. I think Everforth is
Right.
definitely blaming you.
Also, I think perhaps the most monumental of all, from a plot perspective, would be I don't know, the unbreakable vow between Albus Dumbledore and Gellert Grindelwald. The reason that they don't have their big duel until 1945, like 10 years after Fantastic Beasts 3. But at the end of Fantastic Beasts 3, the vow is just broken. Dumbledore can go stop him anytime, but we're going to wait for World War II to happen first now. Okay, fine. But the reason the breakable vow gets broken at the very end is just reasons, honestly. Just love, I guess. He just kind of like offhandedly mentions love. Is that supposed to be a reference to how Harry Potter survives the killing curse because the love of his parents? Is that what that's supposed to mean?
Probably.
Because previously no one else had ever stopped a killing curse before, except for Harry Potter. No one else survived it. In this movie, Aberforth and Albus divert the killing curse from Grindelwald, and then the vow breaks in the process. And in the very beginning of this movie, the fucking Chillum survives the curse initially. It's supposed to kill you instantly. I guess they're just super magical. I don't know.
They are super magical. They're fantastic beasts, I would say. And
Yeah.
we now know where to find them. And you now know where to find this review on SoundCloud.com, YouTube.com. Follow us there.
So
Dave, we do have a little bit more to go though.
I just want to ask you about Harry Potter real quick.
Oh boy.
What do you think the future of this franchise is? We know that Fantastic Beasts 4 has not been written and that the box office and the success and reception to this third Fantastic Beasts movie was going to determine that. Box office is down from Fantastic Beasts 2, which was in general
like
down from Harry Potter's highs. Do
under
you think we
200.
see more Fantastic Beasts films? Do you think we just wait this out until the HBO Max series or series are developed? Do we fast track a Cursed Child film with the original cast? Where are we going?
I think we see one final installment. I think they'll probably be like, we have to wrap this up. We got Mads and Jude Law. They'll finish it, but
Hmm.
man, I don't really care to see it. Not This wasn't a movie I was looking forward to at all. So
Right.
I would be okay if they stop. But what's your call? I don't think we get any more.
So a lot of people have been saying this. Secrets of Dumbledore kind of ends in a bit of a finality. It's not a cliffhanger the way 2 was and 1 was for sure. 3 could be the end. And it's like, okay, we know he duels Grindelwald later. We just won't see it. I could totally see it going that way. And I also wouldn't mind either because I would be very invested in an HBO Max series done right, which we've talked about before when that was reported in early 2021. just a Hogwarts series set at a different time would be awesome. Law and Order, the famed police procedural,
Yeah.
police procedural would be awesome. I don't know. I feel like Cursed Child movie is a bit too soon still. They kind of need
Hmm.
like Radcliffe and Grint and Emma Watson to get a little older still, I think, for that to work. But
Yeah.
they'll make that at one point, and that'll print when they do finally make that.
Yeah. It's just it's sad that this beloved franchise is just kind of in this place where we're like, well, let's hope the TV show is good. It's
Yeah.
like didn't have to be this way.
It's kind of where we're
uh,
at with Star Wars. It's TV's carrying us right now.
yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean, Star Wars at least had a few good other movies. Rogue
Yeah, of
One.
course. Yeah, no, it's definitely not the
Yeah.
same, of course.
Yeah.
And we saw the Hogwarts Legacy video game coming out soon. I have high hopes for that. But we'll be hearing from Harry Potter, and again, it's not like this is the end forever and ever.